Hello everyone, Macy Lou here and welcome to my channel. So before I get started, I just want to apologize for any cat meowing you hear in the background. My cat has been very vocal the past few days. Not really sure why. I've been trying to give her lots of attention, but she still does this. So anywho, I'm gonna just have to work through this. This video is about when making art is hard or when the process of creating a piece is difficult or a struggle. And the reason why I wanted to cover this week is because I have actually been having this happen to me lately, and I know a lot of you all can relate. So first thing I want to say is I've recently finished like 3 oil paintings and like 2 or 3 digital artworks, and I will say that there were a couple pieces in each category that I was super happy with and kind of felt like they were my best pieces so far. And normally my most recent pieces are my favorite pieces, but here lately there were a couple of other pieces in the mix that I have been struggling with, and some of them are finished now, and I like them okay, but they're not my favorite, and typically my newest pieces are my favorite. So it has been a little bit hard because it's like I'm so used to just knowing that the newest one is my favorite one, but that's not always going to be the case. And all of us as artists kind of need to go ahead and just recognize that it's not always going to be the case. Your newest piece is not always going to be your best piece. Your newest piece is not always going to be better than your last. And this can be hard, especially when you feel like all your pieces so far up until this point have been better than the last, and then all of a sudden you have a piece or two that you feel like aren't as good as those last ones. But it's just kind of going to happen eventually, especially if you have been constantly improving for so long. At some point, you might start to flip and kind of feel like your work isn't good enough again. And part of this goes back to something I think I've brought up before on my channel, is your eye also improves, not just your skills. So think of it like this. The latest piece you did, it doesn't mean that it's bad if you don't like it as much as the one right before it. It doesn't mean that it's a terrible piece. It could also just mean that your eye has improved a little bit more than your skill in that moment. So what I mean is, you'll look at the piece and you might think, I don't know why I don't like this as much as the last one, but I just don't think it's my best work. I don't think it's as good as the last piece I made. What am I doing? Am I going downhill? Like, you might have all these thoughts going in your mind, but really it's just your taste and your skill set are both improving. It's just that your taste sometimes is more picky than your skills in that moment or during one said piece. So I don't know if I'm explaining this right. It's kind of hard for me to express myself sometimes and explain what I mean. But if you look at your works and you kind of pick out like which ones are your favorite, like, and why do you think that those are still better than maybe your very most recent piece? And I think if I were to look at mine, I would say that a lot of the times what kind of makes me enjoy my pieces more is when they have more of a concept or more of an interesting composition or more details. So I've noticed that the pieces that I'm not always as excited about are the ones where I kind of keep them simple. But another issue with this is, just because a piece of art is simple doesn't mean that it's not a good piece of art. And I think a lot of us artists kind of miss the point there, because, you know, especially if your most recent pieces are super detailed and super complex and have a lot of different elements to them, when you do a simple piece, you kind of just don't understand why you don't like it as much. And typically it's just because you're so used to pumping out these pieces with all this detail and all this complexity. So when you do a simple piece, other people might be like, why don't you like it? It looks really, really good. But you, in your mind, subconsciously, you don't enjoy it as much and you don't feel like it's your best work. But I just want to encourage you all to remember that just because to you it doesn't seem like a good piece of art doesn't mean that it's not a good piece of art. And try not to beat yourself up too much. Just try to keep going, keep working, keep making pieces. There might be a whole, and I hate to say this, this kind of sounds sad, but there might be a month or two where you create work that you're not happy with, because you might be going through a transitional phase in your art. Like, think about that for a minute. Like, you might be working out some struggles and some kinks in your art process or in your subject matter. Like, I think a lot of my struggle right now is I'm trying to find my voice as an artist. I feel like I have one, but I feel like it's sort of moving in another direction in a way, or not in a whole other direction, but maybe just kind of growing and evolving a little bit. And sometimes that means that there might be other elements I want to add into my work, and I'm not exactly sure what those are right now. And I think that I'm also trying to find like a signature, like I already feel like I have a style, but I think we all do, by the way. And if you haven't seen my How to Find Your Style video, you should totally check that out. I'll put it in a card up above right now so you can check it out. But basically what I'm saying is, I want there to be some kind of element or elements in my pieces that just click and people just know that it's my work. So far, I think what those are the colors that I use and kind of the way that I do eyes. But again, I feel like there's something else I want to add to the mix to make my art more, just more obvious that it's mine, and more obvious that it's something that I've created and I've thought of. So, I don't know, I think a lot of this struggle with making your art look the way that you want and feeling like your art's not as good as it was like the last piece or the piece before that, I think a lot of it has to do with when you're transitioning into another phase of your art and you're learning, like you're always learning so many new things, so you're better, you become better at seeing the flaws and seeing what's wrong with your work right now. It doesn't mean your art's bad, it doesn't mean it's terrible. Just keep going, and I hope this video was helpful. I know that I've needed to hear this lately. I know that a lot of you probably have needed to hear this lately. And keep in mind also that this happens a lot more often when you've created some really nice work, like really recently. So if you've recently put out like 2 or 3 freaking bomb pieces of art, yeah, you might just kind of want to, help yourself realize that you're probably not going to like some of the things you make right now because you just created some of your best work maybe, and it's going to be hard for you to come down from that, you know what I mean? But this isn't always the case. There are some people who just are constantly making like better and better art all the time, but I really think that's rare. I really think that there's always going to be this one piece here and there that you just don't like amongst all this amazing work that you make and that you're actually proud of. So just keep that in mind. It's still art, it's still beautiful, it's still worth money, it's still worthy of people's appreciation, it's still worthy of being looked at and enjoyed, and art is a journey, and so is creating it. So I just want you guys to have a great day, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Have you experienced this kind of struggle with making your art the way that you want it to be, and the way that you envisioned, and what you expect out of yourself and your skills? If so, let me know. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it, and don't forget to check out my Patreon page if you're interested in getting a digital paper doll or a postcard sent to your home with exclusive art by me on it, or just early access to posts and process images and occasionally layered digital art files. And I will see you guys in the next video. If you're new here, please subscribe. Bye guys! So before I go, I just want to shout out my patrons. They're on the screen right now, and I just want to thank them so much for supporting me. They're always so super kind and sweet, and they help me out a lot. Thank you guys so much for being patrons.